Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Mark LeMay, and welcome back to part 2 in our 4-part series on Heart Health Month. I have Shelise Irby here with me. She is a registered dietitian, and she is going to be talking about the heart sound recorder today. So, Shelise, thank you, and thank you for coming back.
Thanks, Dr. LeMay. I'm really glad to talk about the heart sound recorder because, like I was saying in our last video, and also if any of you checked out the video on YouTube that Dr. LeMay and I recorded a couple years ago, it's just such a fantastic, non-invasive and very easy to use device that doesn't take too long, right? We don't have to take a reading and then wait, a month or two to get the results back or anything like that. So
Kind of have some expert like interpret it all and then get your report back in a month.
It's fantastic because it makes sense to me and it makes sense to the patient once we, go through it together, and then I get to make recommendations right away. So because I am not super patient, so I just like things to be done in that half an hour time.
That is, and it's very convenient usually. That's one of the things I do like about this. I mean, you get to take a look at those things and then show them exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, so if you watched our other video, today I'll kind of explain what the heart sound recorder is, just a little recap. And the heart sound recorder is a little device. It's actually a microphone. And so when I put it on you, the patient, or if I put it on Dr. LeMay, it has 4 places that it needs to go to listen to the 4 areas of the heart. And so we do 4 different recordings to listen to those 4 areas of the heart, the 4 valves. And then we put all that. So I get a recording of each valve, and then I select a section of the recording that we want to look at together. But I do look at the whole recording just to make sure there's not any abnormal sounds in there. And just so everyone knows, your heart beats a lot. It's beating, it never stops beating, right? It's all day long, tens of thousands of beats
per day or
something
like that.
So many. So there's a lot of times that the beats aren't going to be perfect. And so that's not something that people should be concerned about. Every time you're not going to have a perfect beat. And I understand that when I'm looking at your recording. So I'm not going to nitpick all the weird things. What I'm looking for is patterns. And so when I see a pattern of like an extra beat or a missing beat, that's what we're looking for. If I see something on the recording that's abnormal, if it's just one in the whole recording, it's not something we're going to pay attention to. But that's why it's so beneficial to have more than one appointment and more than one recording with the heart sound recorder device, because then you can compare them to each other, and that's where you really get the best data. And that's because there's so many things that influence the heart. As you know, Dr. LeMay, the nervous system has a huge influence on the heart when you're exercising, when you're stressed, when you're sleeping.
Yes.
We know that the heart is really affected by our stress levels, whether that's physical through exercise or emotional or biochemical. And so it can change slightly from time to time or from test to test. So really we're looking for the patterns that are not changing. And that's what we want to evaluate and see how we can improve with nutrition and lifestyle changes. So that is kind of why we use the heart sound recorder. And like I said, the heart sound recorder is a microphone device that's listening to your heartbeat, and then we're evaluating it, comparing it to an ideal heartbeat. And so the 3 things that we're looking at, because I'm not a medical doctor, I can't diagnose people with anything in relation to their heart or any diseases or anything like that. So really we're just looking at stress, how the nervous system is affecting the heart and how it's responding to any sort of stress that you're under. Because I don't know about you, Dr. LeMay, but I think I've been under a lot of stress lately.
And everybody is. You're going in and out of stress all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even something small like, having to stop because something runs across the road, or like an unexpected email, or I had to test someone, I think last time I was in your office, who'd gotten some really bad news about their family right before they came in to see me. And it did not, and it showed on her heart scan. It was something that I was concerned about, but I was letting her know that, this is probably not something that's going to stick around. This is probably just temporary because of the news you just received and how stressed out that made you. So the things we're looking at when I'm evaluating a heart scan is the rate of the heart, the rhythm, and the tone. And so the heart rate is the speed that the heart is beating at. Ideally, you want your heart rate to be 60 to 80 beats per minute at rest. And that's why we tell people to come in 15 minutes before their appointment so that they can be at rest when they get their heart sound recorder test done. We're going to measure your oxygen, we're going to measure your blood pressure, and measure your heart rate as well. And so we want you to be in that ideally rested state. Sometimes people are coming in and we don't want you to be rushed. We don't want you to have, high blood pressure and get a inaccurate reading. So the rhythm is, the rate is the speed of the heart beating. So we're going to measure that. The rhythm is the pattern that the heart is beating at, right? We have that classic, you see it on TV, the little beep, yep. Beep.
EKG.
Beep, beep.
Across there, yep.
So we call that the lub dub, right? Lub dub. Yeah. And your lub should be bigger than your dub. So I'm sure there's some sort of, DJ music we can make to that, but your lub should be at least twice as big as your dub. So I'm going to be looking at that when I do the evaluation of the recording. And the last thing, and also for the rhythm, we want the heart sounds to be where they should be. We don't want to be missing heart sounds, and we don't want to have extra heart sounds where there shouldn't be heart sounds, right? The heart should be working only about 40% of the time and resting about 60% of the time. So that's what we want to be looking at when your scan overall. If you have a fast heart rate, your lub dubs are closer together, your heart isn't resting enough, right? And that's what happens when we exercise, which is really positive, but not long-term. You don't want to be running a marathon all day long or sprint. That's not healthy. So the last thing we look at is heart tone. And this is the strength of that muscle. And we talked about this a little bit in the last video, Dr. LeMay, about nutrition and things that help support the strength of the heart, like protein and electrolytes and good fats. But on the heart sound recorder, when we're looking at the strength of the muscle, we're looking at the heights of the sounds or the contractions, right? Because the microphone's going to hear those sounds and translate it into, a physical little blip on the screen. And then we can see how strong or how tall is that sound in relation to the other sounds, and we can see how strong the heart is. So that is letting us know if we have any weakness in the heart or what we might be looking at. If someone has been diagnosed with an enlarged heart, then that would mean that they have some heart weakness for sure. So that's something we want to avoid. We want our heart to be nice and strong and healthy so that we have sufficient blood flow to everywhere that we need it to be and oxygenation to our tissues. So heart health, especially the strength of the heart, is really important. And it's really influenced by our nutrition and our hydration levels too. So that's something that we can really easily change in regards to our overall health and function of the heart. Those are the three things that I look at when I'm doing a heart sound recorder testing. And then the patients get my recommendations and evaluations. So I write down things that I, think that would be beneficial for them to either change their lifestyle. A lot of times I'm telling them to increase water, maybe do some light exercise or stretching. I hardly ever recommend like heavy exercise or anything like that. When you're working with someone who might have a weak heart, excessive exercise is usually not the best solution to stress the heart. So then I make my recommendations and I send them over to Dr. LeMay's part of the office, and they, the patient brings in their scan and they're like, okay, this is what Shelise said, and they come to you.
And what I do is I basically go in there and kind of go over, because I know their health history, and then with what Shelise is telling them, then I can make some additional tests that I will do. Sometimes I'll do some muscle testing. Sometimes I'll just take a look at their file and their previous, protocols that they have. And we make some adjustments to that, because the most important thing to really make sure people have going for them is their heart, and the heart responds the fastest to nutrition, right?
Correct.
So that's incredible, because we've seen, remember one time we had a patient who was doing really well, and then he went in for a procedure. He had some kind of like a heart, some type of contrast they did for a brain scan or something like that. And that contrast really was hard on his heart. And we could just see how his went downhill. His heart, function went downhill. That rate, rhythm, and tone went down. And then by just doing some other things and getting that cleared out of there, it was how it came back up again. So, I think of it as a very valuable tool to really help patients get their heart health back on track, and to also see what's going on before anything even happens.
I think it's great to have in the office, because I'm able to kind of look at the heart through more of a magnifying glass and look at it very specifically. And then you can see the patients from the more holistic view and look at their whole body, since you know more about their health history and their health goals.
Correct. So how can and when can somebody get tested, Shelise?
So if you would like to get a heart sound recorder test, I do them at Dr. LeMay's office every single month. I come up and do a full day of heart sound recorder testing. The test takes about half an hour, and you don't have to be a current patient of Dr. LeMay's in order to get an exam. You will have your visit with me first. Michelle at our front desk will have you fill out some paperwork ahead of time. And then there will be some instructions to do for the exam, like you're not supposed to do any coffee or energy drinks that day, no stimulants. That's just one example. No heavy exercise, things like that. And then they can do their visit with me, which is about half an hour. And then you'll get a few free minutes with Dr. LeMay to talk about your overall health and any other recommendations that he might have for you. So the next time I'm up is February 12th. And then the following month, March 12th, I will be in the office to do heart sound recorder testing. And it's a busy day. We're running around the office when we do that, but it's very fun. And I love seeing month after month, or even if I don't see a patient every single month, sometimes I recommend a 2-month follow-up for an evaluation. Then it's fantastic to see how the heart has improved in regards to its rate, rhythm, and tone from the initial appointment to, a few appointments down the road. So that's my favorite part.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoy seeing the differences, because I get copies of all of these, and I get to see month after month what the difference is. And it's really astounding too. So, all right, Shelise, why don't you give these guys a little bit of a kind of a preview? What are we going to be talking about next time?
So next week, we'll be talking about the differences in cardiovascular symptoms. What might make you think, hey, I should probably go get my heart checked? Number one, if you're over 40, the answer is you definitely should get your heart checked.
Yes.
That's really, really important. And if you're over 40, you should probably be taking something daily to help support your heart, whether that's an herb or a nutritional supplement or even a protein powder, right? So if you're over 40, you already know that the answer is yes. But if you are, there's a lot of differences between men and women and how heart symptoms might represent themselves in the body. And so we'll be talking about that next week. And just keep in mind, especially if you have any sort of health history in your family of cardiovascular disease, then the answer is also automatically yes. Yeah, you should be evaluating, or should be seeing how your heart is, either from a EKG, which is the electrical side of things, or heart sound recorder is more the mechanical side.
Oh, great. Well, I'm looking forward to next week, because that is a really important one. Is the difference between men and women, from what I've learned, is totally different. And I can't wait for everybody to hear about that too. So thanks again, Shelise, for being with us this week. And we're looking forward to next week.
Thank you. See you then.
All right. See you then, everyone.